Ben and Keith.
Nice to meet you. I'm Ben.
Okay.
Hi, Ben.
Keith is over there.
Hey, Keith.
I like your peace
Sorry, there's
sign.
not room.
Thank you. Actually, it's a Vulcan live long and prosper.
It's live long and prosper,
I'm so
Billy.
sorry. Yes. Why did I see that as peace?
I have
I'm
no
sorry.
idea why.
He's
we don't
delusional.
need peace. We just need more Star Trek.
Are you a Trek fan?
Yes.
Me too.
Well, nice to meet the both of you. Now, from what I understand, it seems that Rose was always intended to be a big production, big studio film. Now, there's a plethora of streaming services that are out there that have got some really great quality LGBTQ films.
For sure.
What were the advantages of going with a big studio or disadvantages as opposed to, like I said, big studio or going through an indie film?
I guess, they're just sort of different animals at the end of the day. A big studio gives you a bigger budget, and you also get to be released on the big screen, which for me, as someone who grew up going to see the movies, as much as I love watching shows at home like we all do, there's still something to me that's really unique and special and powerful and fun about going to a comedy, especially in a movie theater, and laughing with hundreds of other people, which is not the experience you have when you're watching a streaming series, as great as it might be. Also, the way that the movie gets distributed. Bros is an R-rated gay rom-com being released in about 3,000 movie theaters all over North America, and then more all over the world. That's something we haven't seen a ton of, and there have been so many great queer indie films. I've seen many of them. I saw many of them in the movie theater because I grew up in New York City and actually had access to them, even from a young age, and Bros would not exist without them, but so many of those movies never got the financial resources in terms of marketing and distribution that they deserved. They were seen as very niche because they were about gay people. And Bros, thankfully, because of Universal, is being given the same type of support that a rom-com about straight people has always gotten.
I grew up in the suburbs. We went to the multiplex. I didn't have small theaters like Film Forum and Angelica. If I saw this film as a 19-year-old, it would have blown my mind. And those kids deserve to have that opportunity.
And one of the things that I noticed with the film, there are a number of what I would call the gay cliches that are sort of played for jokes. I'm really curious, what was the most outrageous cliche that was put out there that maybe you said no to, but ended up in the film anyway?
I don't really know what you mean by cliche. Like, give me an example.
Oh, for example, there was the foursome.
Right.
Because a lot of middle America thinks that, oh, gay men, what do they do when they get together? It's all about the orgy.
Right. Well, that's a part of our lives. Not every gay man's life, but I live in New York City. My gay friends have orgies sometimes. I don't have them all the time. But I think, when you have been sort of ignored by mainstream culture for as long as gay people have, there's pros and cons that come with that, right? It's obviously very frustrating and can be traumatizing, but if there's a positive benefit to it, it's that you get to make your own rules in terms of sex and love and dating, right? Because no one's paying attention to you anyway. And so I think gay men live a very sexually liberated lifestyle, and that doesn't mean that every gay man is having orgies, but I think that it's part of our lives that we don't play by heteronormative rules, and that's something that the movie is celebrating.
And the movie's actually talking about that and being in a relationship. We do have a conversation about what an orgy means. And I think that that's part of the pulling behind the curtain for all our straight friends that come to see the movie, because they don't get to see that.
That's a good point. It's a lot of impactful moments that are in this film and some really great lessons. That's a good one. Was there anything that was really impactful for you personally that you took away from this film after you finished it?
Yeah, actually, which is weird because I wrote it and I'm in it. But, when I watch the movie, it is a reminder that we live in a really cynical world, a world where romantic comedies aren't even made very much anymore. When they are very rarely released in a movie theater. People are very angry out in the world, and for good reason. But Bros is a movie about the good things in life. It's a movie to make people laugh out loud. It's a movie about love and romance. And we don't get a lot of that anymore because the world has become very cynical, which, again, for good reason. But at the same time, those are good things. Those are things to work towards. Like, we all should be happy. And Bros is about two people coming together and finding happiness with each other, and that's just as important as a dark, gritty superhero movie.
I think you just answered my next question, so I'll move on. How cool was it to actually represent the LGBTQ community, as also with a much needed museum of LGBTQ history.
Yeah.
I mean, it was great seeing that up on the screen.
Yeah.
How awesome was it to at least portray that?
I mean, it's kind of a reminder to the world or to the country that we actually don't have one, you know, which is crazy. I mean, I'm from New York City. We have a museum about everything. We have a museum about trains and transportation, but we don't have a museum about LGBTQ history. I think they're in the beginning stages right now of making one. And I think it contributes to society at large not understanding the contributions that LGBTQ people have made since the beginning of time. Right? At the same time, it's a comedy. Bros is a comedy. We're poking fun at each other. The museum scenes are some of the funniest scenes in the movie because we're showing various members of the LGBTQ community mocking each other and kind of taking the piss out of each other. And that's important to do too. We didn't want to be sanctimonious. So I think it hopefully works on a number of levels.
Well, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to speak to the both of you.
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you very much.
Live long and prosper.
And peace.
And